Hey y'all, thanks for coming back again for our next video in the Defensive Shooting Fundamentals series. Today we're going to be talking about our ready position, the high compressed ready, and our extended shooting position, and how we can use our physiology, our body mechanics to get good defensive accuracy under pressure. So to begin with, the high compressed ready is when we've got our full two-handed grip on the gun. We've got the gun high in our chest with our forearms resting against our torso, and we are square to the target. We've lowered our center of gravity a little bit. We're hinged forward at the hips, bent at the knees. Now, that's pretty much all the high compressed ready is. And what this does for us is it creates an efficient platform to get into our extended shooting position, and it's a safe position to be in, and we'll get more into the details of how that is later. But from this high compressed ready position, we get into our extended shooting position. So we're looking at the target, we're visual creatures, so we're looking at the target, and from our lower center of gravity, hinged forward at the hips, bent at the knees, we extend the gun straight forward in and parallel to our line of sight to the target, and we get our arms as straight as we can. Now, the reason we want to get our arms as straight as we can is because that, in a sense, locks out our muscles and bones so that we don't have as many variables for movement while we're shooting. Another thing that you may have noticed is that while I'm in the extended shooting position, I'm engaging my shoulders and back muscles. So that helps a lot to control recoil as well. It's another biomechanical stop. Now what it does is it helps mitigate that upward travel of the gun as we're shooting. So if I extend here and I'm standing up straight, I've got my head up, and I put my arms out straight to the target, look at how much room and motion I have in my shoulders. Lift, 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 sky high, all right? Now, if I engage my shoulders and back properly, this is as high as I can get it to go. You really feel that stretch here. Now, that obviously helps us as we're extended out to the target, shooting, experiencing that upward climb of the recoil minimally. So that is a big reason we train to do that. The other reason is that we know from observing dash cam videos and CCTV videos that under a dynamic critical incident where someone is seriously trying to injure or kill us, we naturally square up to them, lower our center of gravity, and whatever talisman of defense we have with us is stuck straight out to that threat. Well, we're hyper-focused on it visually. So what we're doing here in our training is not only making sure that we have a strong posture, but we're making sure that we have practice getting into that posture and aligning the gun with our target in and parallel to our line of sight to that target. Now, to drive that point home, we've got this little illustration here. We have our target, we're in our extended shooting position, and as we see these blue hash marks here, this is our line of sight directly to that target. Light travels in a straight line, right? That's how we see. Now, what we want to make sure that we do is that when we get into that extended shooting position, we have our head between our arms, and we present that gun forward and in parallel to our line of sight so that it is in the same plane, straight straight to the target. Now what that does is it really helps us when we've practiced getting our gun in parallel to our line of sight to that target, and we've practiced getting into that position where we've lowered our center of gravity and we've engaged the muscles in our shoulder and back, is it allows us to get a good kinesthetic point of aim, and where we don't necessarily have to use our sights to shoot within a reasonable distance. Now, most defensive shootings occur between 9 and 15 feet. That doesn't require an insane amount of accuracy to hit a human-sized target at that distance. And what we've found is that when we try to drag our brain away from focusing on what's trying to hurt us or kill us right now, it takes us too much time to shift gears to our sights. Now, sights are there for a reason, and they definitely should be used in some instances. And what instances? Come to a class, come train, come find out. But what we don't want to do is put ourselves further behind the initiative curve as we're being attacked. So what we do in most of our training is we train from 9 to 15 feet to be able to get good kinesthetic alignment, good visual alignment with the target, and to be able to press those shots off and get good hits within targets that are about a hand span like this. So as you're practicing at home, you want to be, 9 to 12, 15 feet away from whatever target you've picked, and it can be something about this size, a little bit smaller, a little bit larger, doesn't really matter. And what you want to do is make sure that your firearm is empty and that you can practice going from the high compressed ready to the extended shooting position and making sure that your firearm is in parallel to your line of sight to the target and isn't drastically pointed off to the right or left or up or down. And that's something that you can easily practice at home to make sure you're getting into a good shooting stance, what we call a good defensive shooting stance. Now, our upcoming videos, we're going to be actually going to the range and demonstrating a few drills to get you from the point where you're practicing getting into that position with a gun that has no bullets in it to actually shooting and getting good defensive hits. So that's going to be a lot of fun to do and demonstrate for, and I know it's going to be super helpful for your personal defensive practice. So we'll see you again in that next video.